the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
As you can probably tell by the intro, today we're having a dig at Montu. Yes, I'm going to go at the big fella. He did a recent video on cruiser designs and how good cruisers are, and they're the best ship in the game. I'm going to show you why Montu is wrong. They're very good cruisers, they're pretty good, but they're not the best. I'm going to show you how they're less efficient and battleships beat them every day of the week. Sorry Montu, you're wrong. Battleships are superior to cruisers, and I'm going to show you the combat footage and designs to prove it. Here we've got Montu's artillery and neutron launcher torpedoes. He calls them like an artillery cruiser, and he didn't include any missiles in here because he wants to stay at max range of 120, which is the artillery combat computer, but it'll be a little bit more because it's plus 20% range on top of the 120 for the artillery and the torpedoes. The design is exactly the same as Montu's, mostly armor with a couple of shields thrown in there. The afterburners so that they can try and stay at their maximum range and fire away at those battleships. Let's see how they go against my design, which is this. This design is a focused arc emitter. It's got all plasma. That's right, plasma is back on the menu.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
I've gone for mostly shields with shield capacitors and with line combat computers so that we can close the distance, so that we can use all of our plasmas, which do have a shorter range at 80 and then a couple of medium slots at 60. Focus arc emitters should go through shields and armor, do direct damage to the hull. Hopefully we can kill a few of them early. Standard systems here. I did drop the power usage here on the hyperdrive to get a little bit more power. And we do have the dark matter reactor for extra power, which is easy to get in endgame. Kill a few Fallen Empire ships. Even if you end up losing the war against them, you still get the technology. You could even put dark matter shielding on here. If you have psionic shielding, wow, that is just so much better. And I'm going to go into a couple more details after this, because the meta seems to be that all armor is better, which armor provides more hit points, but it's more expensive as well. So if everyone's using armor, and everyone's using anti-armor weapons because everyone's stacking armor, well, it's logical to throw in some shields and still have anti-armor weapons, and their anti-armor weapons aren't going to be too effective against my shields now, are they? All right, let's see how this fight goes. The focused arc emitters are firing. There's a kinetic artillery, comes up the neutron launchers going in, so they've lost 3, 4, we've lost 1, 2, they're down to 5. They've lost 7 already. We've lost 5 battleships. They've lost 7. They've lost 9. You can see the firepower is dropping as well. Some ships are retreating. There you go. See one retreating there. They've lost 13. We've lost 8. You can see now they're starting to struggle to kill the battleships because their numbers have dropped too low. See, the firepower's dropped way down now. And let's just have a quick look at the damage stats here. You can see the focused arc emitters, the amount of damage they're doing is just horrendous, even compared to the neutron launchers, because the neutron launchers are running at high efficiency, but they struggle to get through the shields. You can see their damage to armor total, which is the large plasma cannons. They're running at 200% efficiency. Medium plasma cannons, 200% efficiency. Kinetic artillery is obviously doing more damage to shields as well. So you can see the focused arc emitters are just ripping in the shreds. There we go. Now that's a retreated fleet now. Let's look at the damage. So we lost 9 battleships. They lost 23 cruisers. So to replace those losses is 21,000 alloys, nearly 22,000. To replace my losses is 13,000. Now to build these fleets as well, this fleet is about 5,000 alloys more to build it. So not if you spent 5,000 alloys more to build that fleet, you've now got to spend 21,000, we'll say 22,000. So that's 27,000 alloys all up your loss. My loss is 13,000 alloys because it was 5,000 alloys less to build this fleet and 13,000 alloys to replace it. So we're 14,000 alloys in front in terms of efficiency.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
You underestimate my power!
Don't try it!
One thing I wanted to point out and to keep in mind with shields versus armor is this analysis that armor provides more hit points, which it does. You can see here, if I put armor on my battleships, it provides 1740 armor versus 1320 for the shields, which is fine. So that's a difference of 420. And if we put, say, 4 armor across here, neutronium armor, that would provide a difference of 1,680 hit points over these shields. But that's not factoring in these shield capacitors. These shield capacitors add extra hit points to all of these shields. So I've got 9,555. Okay, let's take them off. Drops it down to 7,355. That's a difference of 2,205 hit points. The armor only offered me in total with 4 of them 1,680 hit points. So I'm some 500 to 600 hit points better off with shields and capacitors. Now, even if I added in a 5th armor, it would boost the hit points. It would still be under the bonus of shields. If you went all armor, armor would provide slightly more hit points, but that's not factoring in daily shield regeneration. The daily shield regeneration of all of these shields is 48.6. So let's assume a battle goes for 30 days on average for these bigger fights. Some of them go for much, much longer. These shield regen here provides 48.6 per day, which over 30 days is an extra 1,458 points of shield hit points being added to your fleet, provided you had your full fleet still intact. Some of the ships will be dead, so it'll be slightly less, but you understand my meaning that you're getting more hit points as the battle goes on. The shields will absorb more and more as it goes on. So not only do you have more hit points than armor by adding in the capacitors here than what you would be with stacking armor, but you also got the daily shield regen, which offers another nearly 1,500 hit points again on top of that. So that puts shields significantly in front when people are using mostly anti-armor weapons, because everyone's using stacking armor. So this is the design to use. Now, if we then include the fact that only 1/3 of the weapons on this ship are doing extra damage to shields. So the kinetic artillery will do significant damage to the shields. And we're not running armor, so there's no negative benefit there. So that's fine. These torpedoes, however, are doing minus 50% damage to shields. So you can effectively increase the shields again by 50% with these two weapons. So for 2/3 of the damage output of this fleet, they're not doing the damage that you'd expect. Even including the multiplicative damage against battleships, which is significant, the shield damage, as you saw in the battle, is just not enough to get through it. Really, in this case, to combat these type of ships, you'd probably want far more artillery or kinetic weapons, but people aren't using that because people are stacking armor. So it becomes a battle of tic-tac-toe again. But you can see how this design directly counters Montu's claimed cruiser, which can beat nearly any fleet in the game, or most fleets in the game. Well, it clearly can't beat this fleet. Now, for these other battles, we're having a look at some of Montu's other designs, which he does say they're more directly focused on countering other cruiser fleets, really, or other ships, smaller ship designs. But he does say that this should be the mainstay of your fleet. It does have good balance, point defense, strike craft, missiles, and some torpedoes to take out the larger battleships or other cruisers. But once again, stacked with a lot of armor, shields, a bit of armor again, and speed with the artillery combat computer, so that you're staying at range and using all of these ranged weapons. Opposing that, I have artillery focused Archimedes. Focused Archimedes is the best X-slot weapon in the game, not including the Archaeotech weapons, because they're in certain circumstances they're better. One shield stacked with armor and afterburners for the extra speed. Running the artillery combat computers Now you notice I've gone for the extra firepower here. I haven't gone for the extra speed, because what happens in these scenarios is when you got artillery versus artillery, they will both stay at their max range and just shoot at each other. You don't need the extra speed to close the distance, because they're both going to stay at 120 range and just plug away at each other. You're not chasing each other around the map, so you don't need that extra speed. So I've opted for the extra firepower. Now Montu did say that artillery should do good against this design. And I'm going to show you why. So this counters the mainstay of the fleet that Montu said you should use.
Engaging enemy fleet.
Focused arc emitters are fired. They go to strike craft, missiles. You can see that they've lost 4 already. We've lost none. 5. We've lost 1 battleship now. A few are retreating, but you can see this battle's going in one direction though. So once again the cruisers are losing. They're taking a lot of losses. Alright, so you can see that was a complete wipe. That's the retreated fleet. I think I had about 8 left afterwards. We only took 2 losses, so that was the utter annihilation of that fleet. And you can see they are susceptible to artillery. So if you had some of these battleships in your fleet, and some of the previous battleships I showed with plasma, you're going to do very well at countering 2 of these cruiser designs. Let's move on to the next battle.
Have you come to destroy me, Obi-Wan?
I will do what I must.
Then you will die.
And now we come to the final battle. We've got Montu's missile and torpedo cruisers, which he says this about.
Torpedo ships are great. They can deal with corvettes and destroyers all right, and absolutely eviscerate most cruisers and any battleships they will come up against, especially artillery ships.
He says they will shred any battleships that they come up against. Okay, let's put that claim to the test. So in this fight, we've got Montu's the Devastator torpedo and missile. So these cruisers can beat practically anything out there, or so Montu claims. They do have the torpedo combat computer, all the features that Montu put on here, mostly armor, shields with afterburners, so they can catch those battleships and destroy them with their Devastator torpedoes. Now opposing them, I've got the focused arc emitter battleships, all armor, and I've got some hull regen there to provide some armor regen and hull regen, no speed, artillery combat computers, and all standard stuff there. Escorting these battleships, or screening them, because every battleship fleet should have a good screening fleet to keep away those annoying cruisers. We've got double disruptors and 1 point defense. We've got 2 armor shields with afterburners and swarm combat computers. So those corvettes should run interference, hopefully shoot down some of those torpedoes and missiles and do a bit of damage to those cruisers. I don't think they'll kill too many, as cruisers do have a lot of hit points to get through. But hopefully they can run an interference long enough so that the battleships can do their job.
Engaging enemy fleet.
There you go, focused arc emitters firing. They've lost 3 cruisers already. The cruisers bypass the corvettes, going straight for the battleships as they should. There go the torpedoes. No battleships down just yet. I think some have retreated. They've lost a bunch of cruisers. See, the corvettes are whittling them away while the battleships are firing at long range. We've lost 1 battleship. You can see this fight seems to be going pretty well. See what happens when you give battleships screening fleets, so they can actually do their job. So the cruisers basically gave up chasing the battleships and focused on the corvettes. That's the retreated fleet. So we can see that was a easy victory for the battleships. We lost 6 corvettes, 2 battleships to 23 cruisers. A massive victory.
It seems in your anger, you killed her.
I couldn't have. She was alive. I felt it.
So you can see there just how effective battleships are when you add a bit of screening ships, even though we only had 10 capital ships versus basically 40 capital ships. We turned the tide very easily. So, Montu, there are tactics and strategies that can beat your cruisers. So this is significant for PvP play, to have a Corvette fleet escorting your battleships. And in PvP, you'd probably have a separate fleet. I can't test it in this mechanic here because they would all fight each other. But if you can have a separate Corvette fleet run in much faster than this and actually engage those cruisers quicker, and also a lot of times they'll tank the alpha shots, although the cruisers will prioritize the battleships with their torpedoes. But you can see all the missiles. I don't think many missiles went for the battleships at all. They were all chasing the Corvettes, but because there's 80 Corvettes, that's a lot of PD shooting down those missiles. So, Montu, I think next time before you make a video, you've got to come and see me and ask me about some fleet combat, because that's my niche. That's what I've been testing for months. And I have done a lot of testing of this over recent months, since 3.6 or prior to 3.6 when we were playing the beta. I've done dozens and dozens of videos on fleet combat. So if you like this video, hit that like button. Sorry, Montu, you do a good job, make a lot of great content, and I do love it. But I just wanted to point out, with some of the combat with battleships are still the mainstay of Stellaris. And you can see here, with the right weapons, the right combinations, they can practically beat anything, nearly anything. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.